Hi guys, I'm back again. I kind of have to be in the middle. Hold on, I gotta take that off. I don't think I should show my work badge of where I'm working. There's an ant on the table. What are you doing here, buddy? How did you get up here? Hold on, let me take him outside. It's to kill it, to get it out of the way. No, hold on. Okay, I lost him halfway outside, so he might be on me. Anyways, as I say that, I'm sitting here with my work jacket on. Duh. I don't care. It's whatever. So I'm here to start my VR for Brian Cormack Carr. This is driving me nuts. Sorry. His 7 life purpose questions tag, which I love this tag. I have to say ahead of time that it is really, I brought it up to my husband, and my husband and I kind of went through some of the questions. And of course, my husband is deep in his own way. He's such a cute guy. He's very funny. But like I brought up the questions, and the first question, he's so like to the point. He's like, duh, cook, art, fishing, hang out, family, and me. That's his. What are your top 5 favorite things to do in this life? And I'm like, okay, I got that. I'm like, so what do you think the connection is? He's like, well, family. I guess it's like mostly stuff about family. I'm like, okay. I'm terrible because I'm like, well, go deeper though. What is it that I wanted, like this big spiritual answer? Hold on, I gotta get my drink. And he, of course, to him, that's kind of, I have to remember that that's spiritual to him. And so I'm like, okay, I want to have this big, deep spiritual discussion. He's like, yep, love ya. Okay. He's so cute. But, okay. So, I am going to have to break this up into a couple different parts, at least 2. We'll see how it goes. Because I got to question 3 and I got stuck. And I'll talk about that more. Okay, so let me start with the first question. I'm sure you all really wanted to see that, right? My hair is driving me nuts today. I didn't wash it today, which probably is part of the problem. Okay. Whew. Okay. The first question is, what are your top 5 favorite things to do in this life? So, and this was hard to break this down into just 5 things, because I find there's a lot of things that I like to do, but I got to 7, and then 3 of them I was like, okay, really they kind of all go together. So that's what I did. Number 1 is to teach someone something I'm passionate about. So my spirituality, Reiki, crystals, tarot, oracle reading, earthing, herbal, incense making, that kind of stuff. I really enjoy teaching. Teaching stuff that I am passionate about. So, the things that mean the most to me. It's funny, I have learned that in the last probably 10 years, what I'm passionate about has changed. I used to be very passionate about my job, and so that was CAT scan. I loved doing CAT scan. Mammography, it's not that I don't love it. I like the people and stuff, but mammography to me is boring. It doesn't challenge me at all, and there's nothing different in it. It's boobs. There's another boob. And that even if there's bad stuff going on in there, it's not very different. So CAT scan was very, very different stuff. So I really loved doing CAT scan, except that it made it so I had to do all kinds of weird hours and weekends and holidays and call and be up half the night on call and all that stuff. And it's a different world. And so when I went into mammography, that end of x-ray, it was a lot because it's Monday through Friday days. No weekends, no holidays, no call. Once in a while, like I had to work Saturday, so it was kind of a short weekend, but it wasn't really a work thing or working. We had a conference, a boring conference that I had to get up early and drive into the city and be in this big, huge conference hall, and it was boring. Anyways, I know that I had something. All I did was read the first question. Wow, I'm really out there today. Sorry, guys. My point was, though, that when I was into CT, I spent all of my off time researching stuff about CT. Dose, how to eliminate more dose, lower dose kind of stuff. When I moved on to mammography, it took me a while to realize, but I was searching for stuff that interested me, and that really took my spiritual life to a different level, because that's where I found my interests. And so the things that I'm passionate about, I love to teach. I used to love to teach other techs how to do CT, which is CAT scan, by the way. I don't know if I said that. And I have realized that the things that you do in your off time, that you focus on, that you look up, that you study, those are really your life goals, your life purposes. If you can figure out how to make money doing those kind of things, that's where your happiness really could take off. But I think this whole VR or this whole tag is about that. So I really am taking it seriously and breaking it down. That's one after 6 minutes, almost 7. So 2 is to hold spiritual space under the moon. I have a great affinity to the moon. I just if it's nighttime and I get out of the car and I see it, it immediately puts me into a spiritual space. So I do a lot of things when it's warm in New York under the moon. I do rituals under the moon. I do meditations under the moon. I just will take a blanket out and lay and look at the moon and the stars for hours. My husband has gotten so when we get out of the car, if I stop and look up, and he's like, okay, see you inside. He goes right in because he knows it's going to be a while for me. So there is something with the moon and space and stars, and I really have a great affinity for the nighttime sky and the moon in specific. So the next 3 are the 3 that I had to bunch together. So it's all about nature stuff. It's earthing. I love to be barefoot outside when I can. It is with the warm breezes. I'm an air person, so the breeze to me is incredible. In the forest with my husband or alone. Either way, I have some great walks and stuff with my husband. I have some great time with myself alone. Mountain air, I've learned that mountains have a very specific spiritual connection with mountains, which I don't have a whole lot of in New York. I can kind of drive north and get them up in the Adirondacks, but it takes a while to get there, and I'm not immediately surrounding. I went on a vacation actually to Utah and fell in love with just the mountains on 3 sides of you, and I have great time in the mountains too, walking in the mountains. And the other nature-based thing for me is lightning and thunderstorms. I love when there's a lightning storm, it to be dark out, and I sit on my porch and just watch for hours. I just love it. And my father, I think, really gave me that appreciation. He's the one that taught me not to be afraid of lightning and stuff, obviously to respect it, not be out, with a huge umbrella and stand in a tree, but that, it's a beautiful nature, spiritual experience for me. So I love that. So all that I put together into one. The next is, and this is going to sound funny, I love crying, which to me is a cleansing thing, to a good movie, to a spiritual experience. I think as an empath, I cry a lot. It sounds so funny. It's because I think in this world, people have made it a bad thing to cry. I love to have a good cry. either for happy reasons or for sadness or frustration, or I find I cry probably more than most people. My kids pick on me because I cry. I literally can cry at commercials, my TV shows and stuff. I cry. Some trauma thing happens in the world, I cry. To me, it's a very cleansing experience. For me, it is getting that emotion out and allowing myself to feel that emotion, but also cleansing it. For, the stuff that I don't need, it cleanses right out of my body with a good cry. And that's one of my favorite things to do, is to have a good cry, and that feeling afterwards of, okay, good, now I can kind of move on. And it's not shutting the page on everything that, happened in that necessarily, but it is allowing me to then move forward. And as an empath, sometimes that's difficult. And the last one is doing stuff, quote unquote, spiritual things at my working altar. So for me, that is working with my herbs, making incense, making spells, doing herbal workings, putting together different infusions. I really love to work with herbs and essential oils and stones, crystals and stones, to, make intentions. I have lots of different altars around my house that, I burn different incenses here and there. That's something I really, really enjoy doing. So the second question of his tag is, if you had to identify a connection between all of these, what would that be? And immediately, I think it's what I think of as my spiritual life. It's usually something based in nature, and it is creating spiritual space, or creating spiritual space for someone else, or teaching what I believe to be spiritual. It all has to do with my spirituality. So that is what is connecting that. It's all about the spiritual world for me. And then I will get into a little bit. Number 3 is, which of your personal qualities do others most often recognize as being of value in their lives? And that is the one that you stop and kind of, I have a very hard time with seeing myself through other people's eyes. And it like really difficult for me. And I think that's a product of a lot of things that I'll try to talk about fairly quickly, because we're already 13 minutes in. Wow, I'm a blabbermouth today. I haven't really talked about my marriage or how my marriage went in the early days. Peter and I have been married for 26 years, coming up on 27. How old is Frank? 20. Yes, it's coming up on 27 years next month. And it was not always an easy thing. We got married when I was 18, and he was 20, and he was an alcoholic and the bad boy. We went through lots and lots of different things, which I'm not quite ready to open up everything with. But to be honest, he was kind of a jackass for quite a while, for the beginning years of our marriage. And he was kind of controlling, and so when I met Peter at 17, I gave up all of my friends pretty much. I had like 2 friends that I was allowed to keep, female friends. And I kind of adopted his thinking as my own, and I found myself like not really knowing who I was, because I was whoever he said I was. And somehow, through the grace of the universe, through the grace of God, Goddess, whoever you want to say, we went through a very traumatizing experience together that he just had like an awakening experience, and he is when I say completely, he's a completely different person today, to the point where actually we divorced, and I did not talk to him. This was, my older boys were young, for almost a year, and the divorce went through, and I think it was 3 days later we got back together. Because we had gone through this experience. Partly the divorce, there was other things going on also with our boys. And that experience made him look at life differently. And something happened that rarely happens. I can tell you, it was when I gave up I'm going to change him. And I saw his heart. I always saw his heart. That's what I fell in love with. But his outside person was a very different person. And so when that happened, he really had an awakening and was a different person. But I lost some things in there that I don't think I have ever gotten back. And one of them is trust. It's hard for me to make friends that I consider to be actual friends. I have a lot of acquaintances that I can go out with once a year, a couple times a year. I have people that used to be very close friends that I talk to once in a great while. And I have my family. My family to me is the only people that I consider friends. I don't go out with people except for my husband. And it's not that I can't. He's not like that anymore. It's that like I don't know how to do that anymore. To me, my family is what's important to me. And it's not that friends aren't important. Boy, I don't know if you guys are going to understand this at all. It's not that friends aren't important, but I think partly it has to do with having 4 boys too. Having 4 boys, if you have a lot of children, 4 children is a big deal. And I don't think you can understand it unless you have more than 2. Because the 3rd child, it's like the amount of work and energy doubles every time you have a child. And once it's more than 2, it's a huge, huge deal. And so to me, friends means you have to really take the time to invest into that relationship. And I did not have extra time to make friends. And so somewhere along the line, I feel like I lost the ability to make friends. And I know that sounds funny. I know that I'm a good person. I know, like people, we actually did an exercise at this work conference thing that people said what they thought about me on a piece of paper. We all did this and passed it to the right, and everybody had to say something nice. And I got a lot of, she's really funny. She's sarcastic, which is funny. I also got, someone's talked about her spirituality. I love her spirituality, like with the tarot, because I do tarot readings for people at work. But I feel like most people, this is so odd for me. This YouTube community, I'm not going to do this. Means so much to me because I don't have this anywhere else. I share myself with my YouTube community, and I don't do that with people, which sounds crazy because 1 million people could see this. Not that 1 million people do, but I have no problem with opening up to people. But I do have, I don't know. This is a hard thing for me to put into words. I don't take the time, or I don't I don't know. I'm working on it. So I'm not ready to answer that question yet. I'm still kind of journaling on it and working on it, and I'll let you know. Give me a day or two, because I have some work to do internally, obviously, that I really don't open myself up enough to actual people. Not that you guys aren't actual people. Maybe it's easier because I don't see the judgment, or I don't fear the judgment, which is weird. I'm a very strong person, and I'm not afraid to stand up for myself. I don't know what it is. So this question in particular has brought up lots of stuff that I'm like, I don't really know what qualities others recognize as being of value, because maybe I don't allow myself to think about what other people think of me, because that would open myself up to pain if they didn't like who I was or something. I'm working on it. I'll let you know when I figure it out. Blessings. I'll come back and continue on in a day or so. I hope you guys have a great week.